Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Scottish Property Podcast. I'm Stephen Clark. I'm joined as always by Nick Ponty. How are you, Nick? And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, mate. Have we not already done the Happy New Year's? It's now like middle of January, mate. We can't be still saying Happy New Year.
Mate, it's like the 10th of January. We're on it. We're still going for it.
Anyway, we're happy regardless. We're always happy.
We're happy. You're just back from Vietnam. You're back in this cold, miserable country, mate. You're not as happy as I am, but fucking it is what it is.
I'm sitting in a gym car park here in my car because my kids have still got jet lag and I don't want to disrupt them. So, this is my new studio, mate, inside the car.
Love it. Sound quality is great as always, mate. So we're bringing a little special episode to the listeners, and it's probably one of the most common questions we get asked. As much as we're building a big audience and a big group and a big following, and lots of people have got experience. Lots of people are doing lots of things in the group. There's still a huge amount of questions that get asked, particularly when people first join the group. They get asked a lot of questions on how they get started, and it's getting over that point now. We thought we'd address this by doing a quick property podcast on how to get started in property in 2023, bearing in mind what 2022 has just brought us. So we thought we would just go back to the start, and it's probably, it's probably not one for the more experienced guys out there. It's probably ones for the ones that are getting started and want a bit of a clear bit of advice and a bit of a strategy, a bit of a focus, don't they?
Bringing you a wee educational episode, and what better person to kick us off than yourself, Stephen, the educator. So like I'm looking forward to shutting up on this episode and letting you take the lead, right? So, but like you say, we have a lot of listeners and a lot of people join our group that are totally new and totally starting out, so we need to remember that. And let's just start right at the beginning. So you're thinking about getting into this property game. There's just so much stuff on social media. How do you actually start? You have to start with the end in mind, don't you?
Yeah,
get your goals.
I think you're right, mate. I think that's the biggest thing is this is an overwhelming industry, especially when you go into it. For us that have been in that a long time and picked our strategy in our lane, it's fine. You can get distracted by the shiny penny object, but you're absolutely right. The first place you really want to start is you want to start with your end in mind. What's your goals? More importantly, what do you want out of property? Because you and I both know this. This is very much different for everyone. Some people might want £1,000 a month cash flow, top up their pension pots. Some people might want £3,000 to place their income. Some people might want to make £100,000 a year to go and blow on sports cars or whatever. Like everyone's got a different reason and different goal to get involved in property. And it might sound very basic, but unless you really know what you want, you can't really start focusing on where that direction is going to go, because if you want a little bit of cash flow, it's going to be a hell of a lot different if you want to make £200,000 or £300,000 profit in a year. It's going to be two different strategies. So you can't really even start to figure out where you're going to go with this property game unless you know what you want.
Absolutely. And, it's going to be very different, like you say, for a lot of people, because, for example, like one of my clients is like a surgeon. So obviously, decent, well-paid job, but obviously very busy life, very busy job, doesn't have the time to spend going out finding properties and all the rest of it, but is very much looking for the long-term investments, doesn't need the income now. Whereas, like, I know plenty of other people that I've connected with through the Scottish Property Podcast Network and events and all that, who are going full pelt with the sourcing and making that their real focus and going to make that their business so that they can leave their jobs. Do you know what I mean? And basically provide a full-time income.
That's a good point, and I think it's so important to go deep on that and really do a lot of self-reflection. And like you say, think about your position, think about what you want your life to look like. If it is going to be a long property career, what does it need to provide you? But what lifestyle does it need to provide you? Do you want to be working in the business? Do you want to be self-managing the properties? Is your skill set in sourcing the deal? Is it doing the renovations, the developments? Figure out exactly what your skill set is, what you enjoy doing, what you want to develop doing, and say, okay, that's the route that might suit me best. But like you say, your surgeon guy that's in a high-paying career, he's going to pay a sourcer, pay somebody to manage them, pay somebody to refurb, and he's going to take the income building up. You probably won't, like you say, won't even touch the income. You maybe just pay down the debt. We'll have a completely different strategy from someone that's saying, well, I'm in a dead-end job and I want to quit as soon as I can. So yeah, they're two very different situations.
Yeah. So obviously you need to have a good think about that, and that's obviously going to determine the strategy that you pursue as well, because we talk about different strategies. So within property,
before the strategy, something that me and you're really, really fucking bad on, to be fair, is what's the exit? Do you know what I mean? So what is the exit of your property? Because we're not getting in this property game. I mean, you and I are both building it for legacy for our kids and handing over. So we have got a kind of exit, which is to die and piss off and leave it to our kids. But you have to think about what is it? Are you going to build the portfolio up to a certain level? Are you going to sell it off? Are you going to consolidate? Are you going to pass it down? Are you going to sell off half and pay off the debt another one? So so think about the goals, the plan, but then try and think that far ahead and think what is the exit, because not only as I suppose starting out you want to pick the right strategy, but you also right now want to pick the right structure, whether it be in your own personal name or in a limited company or in a group structure or an LLP or whatever.
I've got to confess, mate, I've not really thought too much about the exit.
I know you've not.
Now that you've said that, it is very important, and listeners should obviously consider what they're going to do, if they build up this portfolio and how they're going to structure it. Because like you say, you don't want to be leaving your kids a massive inheritance tax bill at the end. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of that to think about. Speak to the accountant, speak to your financial planners and all that, and they'll advise you on that.
And that kind of determines your strategy as well. But not only the strategy, but the types of property you pick for your portfolio. So, I know when I did put a whole lot of focus on the portfolio again 5 or 6 years ago when Maya was born, I did think a lot about this is her inheritance, this is the legacy that I'm handing over my daughter, and I actually changed my mindset on what I was buying. So before I would buy, if the numbers work, I bought any shit. If I got my money all back out of the deal, I bought it and I held it, and that was about as much kind of emotional connection I put into it. But then when I started thinking about, what's Maya going to do at 30 or 40? He goes, oh, dad's passed away, whatever. He's left me all these shitholes that I'm now having to go and chap the door, deal with junkies, go and listen to Nick telling about all the problems with roof leaks and everything, whatever it may be. I thought, I don't really want that. So my strategy did do a wee bit a twist and a turn, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to buy better quality stock. As much as my portfolio has got a little bit of shit now and again, my strategy did change, and I think that's quite an important thing as well. So when you're thinking about the exit and what's it going for, what headaches do you want, or what you want to do, or what you're doing? If you love managing the properties, it's what you get a good kick out of, and what is really your strength. So you probably wouldn't mind dealing with a lower end property, whereas I'm like, I don't want the fucking hassle. I don't even want to hear about it from the letting agent. Never mind.
I don't mind dealing with it, but I'm damn sure my kids don't want to be dealing with it when I die. Do you know what I mean? So you're absolutely right, mate. I think 2023, my purchases are going to be a bit more. I'm going to splash out a bit. Maybe go 100 to 120 grand in Glasgow, which is quite a kind of a decent budget here, just to get that better quality of stock. Try and go for a bit more capital growth, and obviously thinking about that end in mind, passing on good quality assets to your kids as well.
And it kind of goes back to that the kind of the goals as well, because you might look at it from cash flow and you might buy 40 grand, sub 40 grand flats, avoid the ADS, get a couple £100 a month cash flow, but you're not going to get much capital appreciation in the shitholes that you'll be buying them in. I'm probably generalising here. It might not always be the case, but it's probably important to think about what the portfolio looks like. Do you want capital appreciation, or do you just interested in cash flow? This is the foundation. I think this is the starting point. But you want to start with end in mind. What does your portfolio look like? What does your income stream look like? Is it lump sums? Is it regular income? Is it quicker cash flow? And then I think the other important probably point I'd put that on is what's the time frame, because the time frame is going to be very much important. Now you've openly said your goals on the podcast and your time frame. What are you at 41?
So I'm 42. I said by the time 45, I want to have 20 properties, and then, to be honest with you, I think I'll probably be done with property investing. I'll probably look at diversifying, looking into other investments.
Do some flips with me, mate.
Then I'll start lending it out to you for what was it, 10% returns you offer on?
Sorry, we could do some flips to go and buy some stupid cars and stuff like that. So do you know what? But I think getting back to that, the time frame is important, because you might be in a job you really, really enjoy, in a career you might just be looking to wind down a little bit earlier or retire a little bit earlier. If your time frame could be 10 years and you want 20 properties, getting 2 properties a year is not going to be a huge push. And if you look at yourself, self-reflect and go, do you know what, I'm going to put 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week to this. I'm going to build this up slowly. I can achieve that. But if you're, let's just say, a younger person wanting to exit, wanting to cash flow $3,000 a month within a year and a half or a 2-year period, then the strategy is slightly going to be different. But the fucking effort you're going to have to put in is going to be a hell of a lot different from the person that's got that longer term goal on it. So you know, as much as we're looking at the exit and we're looking at trying to build up the picture of what's the exit, what's the strategy, it's then looking at the time frame, because you know, if you want cash flow to quit a job and you want to do it through a buy and let portfolio, particularly now where we're talking about getting a property in 2023, the interest rates are now higher. You might not be getting the cash flow £350, £400 a month that you got from a buy to let property, you know, 2 years ago. It might now be 150 quid. You might have to go and get, you know, double the amount to meet that cash flow requirements, which might mean not going into buy to lets. It might mean going into service accommodation or HMOs, or a different strategy altogether. So
well, that's the thing. So once you've got that that kind of goal and that kind of end in mind, so you want to educate yourself. You know, like you know, there's so many different types of ways that you can find out how to learn about property, and it's not always going to cost you an arm and a leg. There's so many free resources out there. I always say to people, look, go on YouTube, get on podcasts, listen to 150 episodes that we've done in the Scottish Property Podcast. You know, obviously there is good courses out there, but there's a lot of shit ones as well.
Yeah, I'd say that would be the best. But once you've picked your strategy and you know what you're doing, try and immerse yourself into it. Start doing your research. You know, read some books, listen to some podcasts, go to networking events like the Scottish Property Podcast network events. Like, I was blown away. I hosted the Edinburgh event last Wednesday, and we went around the room and we done a bit of a, you know, what's your goals for 2023 and how can the room help you achieve them. And honestly, Nick, you wouldn't believe this. Like, if you had this resource when you started down property, you would have flew, because you know there was just so much experience in the room from guys like Colin McKendrick, that's been doing property for 30 years. Jerry Alexander was there. Out of the 28 people in attendance, I think there was one that was just getting started and one that was right at the beginning. The rest had, you know, minimum 5 years experience. The knowledge and experience in that room is phenomenal. So if you were in a place to start and you wanted to go to networking events, start learning from people, chatting, talking, putting your hand up and saying, you know, who you are, what you're looking to do, and what strategy you're looking to go on, there'll be people that'll volunteer information for you and have a chat with you and have a coffee with you.
Yeah, and the thing about the networking events, which I found really, really refreshing, is we don't really have the kind of Billy Big Boys that come along that go, you know, I've been investing for 20, 30 years. I've got a portfolio. You know, it's none of this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's people that are there that want to meet with like-minded people, that want to share a bit of information, get a chat, just talk with it. Like, you know what it's like. You can't go and sit in the house and speak to Lisa about property. You're just going to just go in one ear, out the other. But you can go along a networking event and you can talk to me weekly on this podcast, and you can chat to people on the networking event till you're blue in the face about property, and we love it. And there is no, like you say, egos and people trying to show up about what they've got. There are people willing to share. So I think you're right, Nick. I think once you've kind of got that focus, that structure, that strategy, that idea of where you're going to, just get in, as I would start with a free education to make sure you're on the right path. I wouldn't be hastily jumping into education and saying, right, okay, I want to build a buy-and-let portfolio, I'm going to go on this course straight away. I would do as much research as you can. Think about, you know, who you are, your capital, your skill set, your time you've got to put to it. Is it aligning with your goals and what you want to achieve in property? And if it is, then keep doing some research on that. Say the books, the people, the network, follow people on Instagram, on social media, connect with them, and follow their journey. And then that's when I would say, yeah, then go and get yourself some formal education, because, you know, you know my opinion on this. The people that offer free advice and a free coffee, I think it's wonderful, great. But how much do you really value your time, and how much can the other person get out of that by picking your brains for a half an hour coffee when someone's really wanting to get started in property? And if you are serious about getting started in property, invest a couple of £1,000, invest some money in your education. You'll get someone that's put it into a compact format for 2 or 3 days, 4 days, whatever the workshop, the course, whatever it may be, is. You're going to get an intense amount of education with a room full of like-minded people that are looking to do exactly the same as you. You're going to get in that network, going to be able to ask questions. Just
I think what I would do, see if I was starting out again and I was like, didn't know anything, I would, like you say, I would go through all the podcasts, YouTubes, all this, find out exactly what kind of strategy I wanted to do, whether it be buy to let, commercial, serviced accommodation. Then I would probably find somebody that was doing what I wanted to do, that offered some sort of workshop course, mentoring, coaching, that sort of thing. I would follow them for a while and, build up my confidence that they're actually teaching, they're practicing what they preach. Do you know what I mean? Likes Jerry Alexander, likes yourself, and then I would feel comfortable in investing through a course that way, not one of these kind of big companies that just are basically salesmen. You know what I mean?
That just turn out the volume and sell you on the 3-day event or whatever it is, or the couple of day event, and then try and get you on the upsell and upsell. But yeah, do you know what? That's a good point. To me, the people you go into work with in property, whether it be education and getting started, or the people you join venture in, you want to do a bit of due diligence on the people that you're going to invest with, you're going to work with, and find out who they are. It's easy enough to do some due diligence. We've covered it on the podcast umpteen times as well. Do a bit of due diligence, but like you say, this is we're living in this information world right now. Whereas when we're putting ourselves out there and we're building a network, and we're out here in the podcast, we're out there on social media doing what we do, people know what you do now. People can see you're a letting agent and see how good you're at that skill set. I put up what I'm doing in my property business day in, day out on Instagram, so people can follow me for a few months and see, all right, he's doing what he says he's got to do. I think that's important. I think that's really important as well, because not only, not saying you'll get a bad education from someone that's not doing it, you'll get a theory-based education is the way I would describe it. But the practicalities of doing deals day in, day out in the current market that changes fucking all the time. Like that, there's something changes with lending, with regulations, with whatever. It changes constantly in this industry. To have someone that's doing deals, their information and their knowledge is right bang up to date, and they're doing deals and they're getting stuff over the line. So yeah, I think that's important as well.
I think you want to avoid the ones. I think it's all in the marketing and all in the kind of the wording of it. So if you see, make millions in property or something like that, fast track to, I don't know, 300 property portfolio, all that shit that's just designed to kind of hook you into it, then I think those are the ones you want to avoid, because at the end of the day, it's not that easy. Nothing's that easy. And if it was that easy, they wouldn't be fucking giving up their weekends, to put on some fucking PowerPoint presentation in a hotel. Exactly. Do you know what I mean? So they would be doing it themselves. So the fact is, the education probably makes more money than property. And, obviously there's people that are good marketers and digital marketers that do very well out of it. And they've probably discovered that it's a lot more lucrative to sell courses than build up a buy-to-let portfolio. Do you know what I mean?
As we very well know, yeah. The other thing on the education as well, and speaking to people, is when I put myself out there, 7 or 8 years ago, to talk to people in my network and talk about property, it was trying to pay attention who to take advice from. You know it yourself. The minute you start talking about property, someone's got property. Oh, my auntie's got property. My grand's got something. They bought them fucking 20 years ago. Like, there's always a story of someone that's got property. And then you think, oh, brilliant. There's no point in me spending a couple of grand on a course. I'm just going to go and speak to fucking Auntie Mary because she's got 4 properties. But the information that you're going to get, where's it come from? Is it dated? What have they achieved in property? If they've bought 4 properties over a 15, 20-year period, then they probably don't know anything about property. They've probably just saved up a deposit over 5, 6, 7 years and then put a deposit down on a property and bought it. Have they bought it right? Have they added any value? Done any due diligence? Do they know any numbers? And is it in the right structure? Like, there's people that can buy properties slowly with an income, or there's people that can scale up a portfolio very fucking quickly by utilising skills and knowledge. And it depends what you want out of your portfolio or what you want out of your property business. But make sure you're speaking to the right people that are doing what you want to do, not Auntie Mary that's bought a couple of properties, because she could have bought them 15, 20 years ago, and we know how much the industry changed from last year. Getting mortgages and stress tests and buy and lets, how it changes often enough. Like, there's so much that changes on a weekly basis in property.
And that could hold you back as well, speaking to potentially the wrong people, because, sometimes you're going to get bad advice. Because I know of one guy you know the guy as well, actually. He comes from an Asian family, and traditional Asian, they're not, I don't think they're big on, debt and mortgages and stuff like that. Like a lot of the old school Asian landlords are quite kind of debt free, cash buys, all the rest of it. But, he was like getting told by his uncle and all the rest of it not to go for mortgages and leverage and all the rest of it. But obviously, me and that's a good way to build your portfolio, obviously, with the bank's money. And you're only putting 25%, they're putting in 75,
That's a really good point, actually, Nick. And I found that a lot when I started out and putting myself out there and talking to people was I'd done it for a wee while and then shut my mouth and stopped speaking to anyone because I realised that what you were attracting is people's limiting beliefs. So someone would then tell you their story, like, oh, I believe you shouldn't get debt. So then they would tell you that story, or oh, you can't buy more than 4 properties, that you'll be leveraged, you'll get them all repossessed from you. Whatever their limiting belief is, that them telling you that story is going to hold you back. So yeah, that is probably quite a word of warning, a bit of a hazard to say, look at who you're talking to.
And this is where we come back to surround yourself with like-minded people and get out to the Scottish Property Podcast networking events, because you're not going to find people that are going to hold you back there. If anything, people are going to push you forward, help you. You're going to come away from these nights with a real sense of, wow, that can be done. I'm going to do that too. Do you know what I mean? So again, the networking is so important. What's next?
The next thing I would probably say on getting started is you've got your plan, you've got your exit, you know what you're going to do, you've got this kind of strategy you now want to achieve. You've been getting your free resources, you're going to get education, your network, you're building it, you're now getting educated. The next thing.
Sorry, 2 seconds. See on strategy, by the way, when you pick your strategy, do you think you should just stick and focus on the one strategy at first?
I do, to start with, yeah. I'm probably it's like probably calling the fucking pot black kettle black here, but I do multiples. But then I feel like I'm doing multiples because I've been in it long enough that I can able to do multiples. But I do believe that when you're starting out, start flipping or start a buy to let, whatever it may be. Start gathering that momentum in the one strategy. Get a bit of experience. Don't look at the shiny penny object and go, oh fucking hell, Nick's doing service accommodation, he's making 10 grand a month, I'm going to go and jump into that, because you're not becoming that expert in that industry. You'll see yourself, Nick, through social media. You see guys that kick off, they start off sourcing, next minute they're doing a buy to let, and then they're going to go and do a flip, then they're going to do a commercial residential. You're like sticking a lane, become
so tempting.
It is tempting because people could put their highlights on social media that makes it look like that strategy is so much better than what you're doing, and particularly when you're probably going through a little bit of shit time with it, and you're struggling to sell your flip, or the flip's overrunning, or you're not making the same profit, and you look across at the next guy that's posting a highlight reel on social media going, fuck, he's just flipped that commercial residential, made 100 grand. Like, I need to do commercial.
Aye, exactly like you're doing with that building up in Aberdeen at the moment, that HMO, and I keep looking at your stories going, fuck man, I wish I was doing something like that. Do you know what I
mean? No, you don't. No, you don't. I'm stressed that I'm talking about. No, I think that's a really, really good point. A good point to say. It's probably a good tip. I think if you got your strategy, go on it. But then this is the beauty of property, is a lot of the skills are transferable into different strategies. It doesn't mean that you're going to climb one mountain of the buy and let, and then you're going to come down it and go to the next one because you're going to go and do flips. They're very much transferable skills. So if you understand how to source deals, if you understand how to negotiate deals and get them at the right price, do your numbers, do your due diligence, that skill set then lands into you buying a property for a buy to let and service accommodation, a flip. So the skill set is very similar. It's just the exit that's becoming different, and then that's when you start getting that track record, that bit of credibility. You can start and diversifying into different strategies. Now, once you get that ball rolling, I do believe that it's important to diversify into different strategies. Like if you're building up a buy to let portfolio, you and I know that you end up leaving. You may have all intentions in the world to pull all your money back out, but if you leave, just say 5 grand in every property, which isn't that much to have a property for £5,000. But if your goal is to have 20 properties, that's £100,000 of cash you've left in 20 properties. If you're going to do it over 3 or 4 years, if you've got the £100,000 sitting in your bank to leave in those properties. So the answer that most people will probably say was no, I don't. I'm trying to buy, refurbish, refinance, and get the money back out. So they're probably only got a small pot of capital that they have to keep recycling, and they can't allow that to dwindle. And that's where I think that the kind of multiple strategies, and if you've done a couple, then maybe the third one, you flip it, you make a 30, 40 grand profit, that tops up the pot, you go again, you do another couple of buy-to-lets, you do a flip, you keep it going. You know, the cash flow might be shitty on one, you can then tweak it and put a service accommodation and then put it to a management. So I think as you develop and you build, then you can start diversifying into different strategies, because they're ultimately similar things. Do you know what I mean? They're there, it's the same thing, but they all present a different reward, don't they? They all give you a different outcome. A flip's going to give you a capital injection. Buy-to-let's going to create you wealth, capital, you know, equity, which you can't spend, but you can build up wealth in that way, and you can also build up a little bit of cash flow as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so what are we on to next? You need to build up your professional team as well. Obviously, you're going to need people to help you. You know, you can't do everything yourself, although at the start you might, you know, try to do a bit of the refurb and that yourself to save a bit of money, but ultimately you're going to need to build a team around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're looking to scale up like a buy-to-let portfolio quickly, the people that you really want in your team are going to be so important. Is a really good mortgage broker that understands that you're looking to scale. Because if you're looking to scale and scale quickly or slowly, that's going to depend on which lenders you go to. The broker needs to understand that, because they might go to a broker that doesn't ask many questions, it doesn't tick up all the boxes and get the mortgage through, and it's a quicker, slicker process. Or you're looking for the rate, you're looking to squeeze the cash flow, and you're looking to go slow. That'll be a different lender altogether. So a broker's so important to add to that. Another one's a solicitor. A solicitor that's got your back as well and looks after your best interests is really important to have on your team. So they're two very important people. The other one's an accountant.
Again, we've got most of these covered at the networking events as well, without harping on too much about them. You know, we've got in Glasgow, the one that I host, we've got obviously a mortgage broker, an estate agent, tax accountant. You know, we've got everything covered there as well. So you'll be able to find people there, and if you don't want to go with those ones that are presenting, then you'll be able to find other people that can recommend you. That's what you want to really go on, personal recommendations. Try and get yourself into some, WhatsApp groups as well, where you can sort of get a wee group of you going together to share contacts.
I think it's so important to get that network built quite quickly and that team around you. And I think this is when I'm going to come back to the education on it. When you go on a 3-day, 4-day, whatever you're going to go on an intense course where you're going to learn as much as you can, I think that as much as the knowledge is so important, the network and the people around you in the rooms, I think just as important. If you're in the room with 15, 20, 30 other people that are all doing the same thing as you, and they're from similar areas and they're from similar ages, you can kind of develop this community and this group straight away that you can start leveraging each other and go, oh, you're looking at that area, I'm looking at this area, or I've used a good solicitor, here's him, I've used a good builder, here's his details. So yeah, having that community and that people you can leverage and get personal recommendations, I think is so important.
Do you know of any good 3-day courses at all?
I do. The last thing I think I would probably add to it against that, I don't know if you can think of other things, and for me it's the support group and the accountability. These are mastermind groups and stuff like that becoming quite popular, getting around the people that you meet every week, every month. We have got the Scottish Property Podcast Facebook group page, which you can see people posting all the time and posting their deals and posting what they're up to. That's a good community, but it's bigger. There's thousands of people in it now. It's not as personal when you can't build up huge, really, really strong relationships through Facebook or social media. So the ones where, and I suppose that's taking it one step further from that, is our networking events that you meet up with monthly. You might not be able to develop huge relationships, but if you're meeting up with a group of people once a week for an accountability or a coaching call and stuff like that, I think these are so important, because the problem when you get all this knowledge and this experience and you start learning is it's then taking the most important step, which is actually to go out and take action. Go out and view the properties. Start viewing them, appraising them, doing your numbers. Even if you can't finance it right this moment, you've not raised the finance, you've not got your remortgage through, whatever you're trying to do, I think going through the process and getting as comfortable as you can with the processes for the start by just taking the action, viewing them, appraising them, doing your due diligence, figuring out your numbers, then trying to negotiate the price at the point you need it to. I mean, even if you want to go negotiate it just even a little bit lower, that you know they're never going to accept it, you know, just go through that whole process, get you right comfortable that when the right deal for you comes up, you're more confident in your process. You've been through a good few times to actually take the action, pull the trigger, and get the offer submitted.
Brilliant. And lastly, it's just all about getting started, taking the action. And, you know, the problem is a lot of people, they kind of they go around circles, don't they? You'll see this in the education space. Mm-hmm. You know, they go in every course, they go to every event, and you see them, they never really do anything. And they spend all this money and they're never further forward. And you do get quite a lot of people like that.
And it's just all about, because I mean, my first couple of ones I did like during lockdown, it was like I had a huge success rate, and everyone that was coming on was taking action and doing some deals, because the groups were so small. But the more and more you're going through and doing these like twice a year, you're seeing, like exactly like you're saying, you're just seeing the people that are coming off it and not taking action. And it is very disheartening, because you think you've gave them all the information, the knowledge, the experience, the lessons learned, to kind of know how to go, right, fucking go for it. Get out there and do it. You know, if I can do it, if you can do it, Nick, you know, we've not got any special skill sets. None of this came from money. None of this came from this unique ability to find fucking properties, or to raise the finance, or carry out the renovation, or spot the opportunity. This just takes work. It takes effort. It takes out there and, you know, understanding, you know, figuring out what your knowledge is, what you've done, and then going and putting it in action, taking action, just going out and doing it.
Aye. I mean, I feel as if I'm starting out in property in 2023, because I had such a non-starter of a year in 2022. So this chat's been good for me. It's been quite motivational. How is 2023 going to be different then from 2022 in terms of, if you're getting started in 2023, what do you need to look out for this year?
Mate, it's a really good question, actually, and it is different. Let's not beat about the bush. The changes that we saw last year went from historically low borrowing at, what were we at, 0.25% in January. This time last year, it was 0.25% was the base rate. We're now, as we record this, on the 11th of January, 2023, we're up at 3.5, are we?
Oh, mate, I've lost track, but it's somewhere around about that. But anyway, you're talking about mortgages for limited company buy-to-let, where we're getting them for about, what, 3.5%?
Now we're somewhere at the start of last year between 2.7, 2.8, and 3.5, 3.6. They've now doubled, haven't they?
Yeah, so we're now 5.5 to 6%. Yeah. So the numbers and your spreadsheets, guys, are super important.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot, obviously, we've got the ADS increase as well, additional dwelling supplement, 4% to 6%. So that is affecting that's killing deals as well. You know, if you're buying it.
Yeah, this is the biggest tip, I think, from going from 2022 to 2023, is the mortgage rates have went up and double. So you now need to look at your rental income. Your rents have been frozen. So if someone comes to you and says, right, Nick, what am I getting for this 2-bedroom flat in Denniston? And you say, fucking 800 quid a month. Mm-hmm. You need to be knowing what the market value is when that relets. And if there's a huge demand and the market's going up to 900, 950, then brilliant. You might be able to factor that increased rental demand or increased rental income into the increased mortgage rate, and your cash flow position will be the same. That's fine. But if the rent is staying at 800 and your mortgage rates have doubled and you're going up, your cash flow is getting squeezed down. And that's important, I think, when starting out as well, because if you've picked your goal, your strategy, you're working your way back, you need to know exactly how much a property cash flows, how much profit does a flip make. You need to, that's part of your criteria when starting out, to know what a deal looks like and doesn't look like. And I think 2023 is going to, like you say, you've got to tighten that belt so much more. This spreadsheet is going to have to be up to date. You can't fudge the numbers. You can't get away with going, okay, I can make that work. I can squeeze that. I can do this. I can do that. No, make sure you're buying into the numbers, you're working out every single cost, and you're factoring in your new mortgage rates, your new 6% ADS, and your numbers. And I mean, if that means working harder to get a deal, then that's what you have to do. You may have to go and kiss a hell of a lot of frogs to get this deal.
There's tougher decisions to be made as well. You know, once you start talking to your mortgage brokers, for example, they're going to put deals to you that you're going to have to make a choice on, and you're basically a gamble, because you can get the tracker rates now are in the 3%, but the 5-year fixed rates are 5.5 to 6. Do you know what I mean? So you're trying to you're basically having to predict the future or take a gamble, because we don't really know what's going to happen. I mean, it is quite promising that interest rates, mortgage interest rates, do seem to be coming down as the housing market cools and there's kind of less competition. Less activity. Then the mortgage lenders are kind of competing against each other for the restricted business. So hence that's causing rates to come down a little bit. But if the Bank of England keep putting up the bank rate, the base rate, then we just don't know. And again, it just boils down to the war, inflation, and all the kind of macro economical factors.
Yeah, a lot of them predict it's going to go to 4 or 4.5, and it's going to be 11 at that. But interesting enough, we kind of gave 2023 a bit of a negative thing there by saying, okay, you've got your higher interest rate mortgages, you've got your 6% ADS, but exactly like you said, Nick, it's forced the market to cool down because you struggled to find a flipping deal in 2022. Property was to go on the market, they'd go for 20% over the asking price on day one. No one had a chance to get any kind of deal. Now the market's not stalled, but it's became this kind of not a buyer's market, not a seller's market. There's a fair market where it went back to normal, I would say, just a normal market. But this getting started in 2023, okay, the doom and gloom headlines off the mortgage rates and the 6%, but let's face it, you're going into a marketplace, it's a bit more calm and a bit more quieter, and people are being a bit more reserved. So you do have a chance to kind of take your time, find a deal, don't rush into anything. Take action, like what we're saying, take action and do the work, but you don't feel you won't be this motivated buyer desperate to get a deal and paying over the odds or paying more than you should be paying for. You should be taking your time and getting the numbers right and negotiating for the work.
Well, that's where I fell down in 2022. I just couldn't be bothered. I was getting so fed up with going out to viewings and turning up, and there was 20 people, and closing dates left, right, and centre, and all that. So that's how I just kind of took a back seat and just concentrated on building my business. But I think it's going to be, I'm a bit more motivated this year because there's not that fierce competition for buying in the market. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, 2023 is going to be my year, guys.
Love it. There's a good motivated Nick Plotty to end the podcast on, isn't it? Guys, if you've got any questions at all on that, I know we rattled through it, and we're trying to kind of give you a bit of advice. If you're having a coffee with myself and Nick, this is how we would chat to you. This is what we would say to you. If you do have any other questions or any other points, drop us a message on Instagram. Nick's new account, what have you got, Nick, for your new account? What's it called?
Oh, it's ArcProperty_Glasgow. So yeah, I sent about 200 emails to Facebook and never got one reply about losing my old account. So those 5,000 followers that I had, if you're listening to this, then please follow me on the new account. So,
give him a head back up. And again, drop myself, drop Nick a message on Instagram, drop the Scottish Property Podcast a message on Instagram, or join the Facebook group page. And if you've got a question, post it on the group, and you will be surprised at the response you'll get from the community. I mean, before we even get a chance to look at it, there'll be 20 comments of people replying to you, giving you their bit of advice of their advice on what they would do if you're in a certain position and you're looking to get started. So I hope
on the Facebook group, like, we're trying to kind of filter out all the crap, and we do really appreciate people posting the Facebook group, but we want to keep it value. We want to keep it valuable. So like, if you're in, like, I don't know, Dundee, and you're looking for a plumber or a joiner or something like that, that's not really any use to anybody who's in Glasgow or Edinburgh or anything like that. So the recommendations for trades we delete. We've actually got a special thread if you want to go on that. If you're trying to link to another page, we don't allow that either. And
we're also kind of taking off self-promotion, because none of us promote ourselves on our businesses on it. We're trying to encourage a community where you deliver value, and if people want to follow you, engage with you, brilliant. But try not this, someone just posting another day, like, offering their services and what to do. That's good, but you're getting a chance to spam the group with what you're promoting. So yeah, we do try and keep it as much value adding, and people can have a conversation, ask advice and stuff like that.
Yeah, get over to the website. So it's www.scottishpropertypodcast.com to book your tickets for the next networking event, which will be the Wednesday, the 1st of February, Aberdeen, Dundee, Edinburgh and Glasgow. Some great guest speakers lined up for that. As Stephen said right at the start, there's so many people with lots of experience wanting to help people that are starting out in 2023.
Yeah, guys, jump over to the network events and we'll see you guys there.
Have a great year, guys, and speak to you soon.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.